right, welcome everybody. This is another episode of Venture Cafe Live. These are casual interviews that we host with different makers, doers, entrepreneurs, and highlight the different companies and projects that are happening in the St. Louis area to shine a little light on what's happening from these folks, whether they be transplants, locals, or expats even. So, but anything that just ties back to the St. Louis community in one way or another, and be able to hear what's going on in the exciting world of startups and folks who are making things all the time, whether it's a nonprofit or technology. So today I'm excited to have James Diel with us today, who is the founder of Textel, which recently was in the news for raising about, I think it was $4 million in venture. And so James, excited to have you here today. And to kick things off, could you share with us just a little bit about your background, and then also an elevator pitch of what Textel is doing?
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks, Tyler, for the opportunity to chat with you and kind of share our story and talk a little bit about what's going on here in St. Louis. It's actually an exciting place to be running a startup. So, my background, I have been primarily for the last 16 or 17 years in the payment space. My cousins and I started a company that's based out of Seattle now called Gravity Payments, and had very good success with that. But it really, so I built that from the ground up, from scratch. No venture money, all organically built, direct sales, feet on the street, just and then they've grown it into what it is today. But about 6 or 7 years ago, I started kind of getting an itch to do something different, to build something else. I've always been interested in the tech side of things, and that was when apps were kind of flying out all the time, this app and that app. And so I got together with a couple of other guys, and we were looking at, well, we could do this, we could build that. We had a couple of ideas. We, one actually went through Arch grants and didn't get selected. We thought it was a great idea, but nobody else seemed to. So we kind of went through that process for a little bit, just really trying to see what could we do with tech, and what could we do with an app is what we were looking at the time. And then I came across this idea of text enabling business phone numbers, and the idea was, every business right now, you do voice. You call up a business for customer service, for sales, whatever it is, and it's voice. And our thought, there was some technology that was just getting out with one company out of Seattle that had this, was kind of wrapping up this technology around text enabling existing business phone numbers. So your salon, your auto repair shop, your auto dealer, your plumber, whatever, could take their 314 number and enable it to receive and send text messages. And so I started thinking about that and thinking, wow, really every business in America should have their phone number text enabled, and probably will at some point. And so we saw the opportunity there to kind of get into this space early. It was one of those things where every business needed credit card processing. Every business is probably going to need their phone number text enabled, was kind of our thesis at the time. So we went ahead and kind of formed Textel. And so, fast forward a couple of years, we've had a bunch of different learnings throughout that process. We tried to do payments via text and couldn't quite raise the money in town. We were a little ahead of our time. And finally, we pivoted into this space. And really, so if somebody asked me today, what's our elevator pitch? What are we doing today? We are a messaging platform specifically designed for contact centers to enhance their customer experience, and to really allow them to deliver a great customer experience. And the reason we're saying messaging is because if you look at how people are communicating today, a vast majority of people say they prefer an SMS or some kind of messaging channel for a customer support, for tech help, for sales. Anytime they're having to interact with a brand, oftentimes they would prefer an SMS. And especially if you're reaching out to them with some information. Think about it. When was the last time any of us answered a phone call with a number we didn't recognize? I mean, it's happening. Nobody does that anymore, maybe unless you're in sales. Then you answer every phone call that comes in. But other than that, you just don't. And so we've really seen the opportunity there coming from, you said, but everybody looks at their SMS. You get a text thing and you look at it, and you might not respond to it, but you look at it. And so businesses are much more likely to engage with their customers. So that's what we're building, and that's what we're working on here.
Yeah, and it seems like things are going well. give me a little bit of history on, so you're Textel, how old did you say the company is now?
So the company was founded about 6.5 years ago, May of 2014, but it was about 3 years ago that we made the pivot into the content.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And so you recently raised the 4 million. Was that done primarily with St. Louis venture capital, or did you guys get it from multiple sources across the country?
So yeah, our fundraise. So we've raised a total of $5 million to date. The first 200,000 we raised at the end of 2015, friends and family kind of round. Had some folks that believed and knew those of us that were doing this and said, we want to support you. And really, I think especially for those of us in the Midwest, it's a great way to kind of get going. And so that's what we did. We had that 200K. And then it was kind of the series. We had a couple of convertible notes to where we got to having raised about $1 million. So, and the entity that kind of helped us break into the venture space was the Spirit of St. Louis Fund. And so Spirit of St. Louis Fund led our second convertible note round, which was a $750,000 convertible note round. And of course, we had been talking to cultivation, and through an interesting series of events, we ended up with the Spirit of St. Louis Fund over time. And they were able to kind of lead that round. And of that round, we picked up Stout Capital out of Colorado. Been a great partner. Again, great seed investors that leverage their resources really well. And through a Stout event called Unmet, where we had an opportunity to go out. It was the first Unmet conference. We were able to pitch out there, met a VC group out of Milwaukee, which is actually where I'm from. I've been in St. Louis for almost 20 years, but born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and met a group out of there called Capital Midwest. And so they came in on that round, helped us close that round out. And so then all three of those participants plus several other entities participated in this $4 million round, of which cultivation led that round.
Gotcha. So were you doing the Unmet conference on, I know Thumbraise, which is a local startup here, hosted Unmet online this year. Were you part of that one, or it was in person?
Part of the first one in person last year when life was normal. And so we were out in Colorado for that one. And we did not participate in this year's.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's great. So,
so now from Unmet, nonetheless. I mean, we met a group there out of, like I said, out of Milwaukee, Capital Midwest, that helped us with our convertible and participated in this A round.
So next step for you guys, as part of that raise, I'm guessing hiring is on the roadmap. What else? What else does that allow you guys to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So our primary focus right now is hiring engineering. We've made some great hires already. Just hired a VP of engineering we're really excited about. Her name's Kelly Stevens. And so our CTO and Kelly, CTO John Meany and Kelly are working together really to build out our engineering team. We have a pretty ambitious roadmap for 2021. We get asked for a lot of things, which pretty much everything we've done, we've had ideas, but we usually build it when somebody asks for it and is willing to pay for it. It is how we've operated. Now we have money in the bank, we're bringing on resources, and we know what people are asking for, but we're actually going out and building it, trying to build stuff before we sell it now. Although, we're still not good at that. So a lot of stuff without building it. So yeah, a big focus around engineering, and then of course, sales and marketing. We have a fairly significant amount of our spend that we're looking to invest in that. Our model to date is primarily channel sales. So a little bit different. We don't go direct to the brands. That's been one of the opportunities we've had, and we feel like we've done a very good job with in trying to understand channel sales. So lower cost of sale, also slower process, less control, but can really, when you have the right person in that channel selling for you to the customers that respect them, it works out really great. So anyway, that's what we're working on.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, as far as, I'd love to give a little bit of insight that you can share to entrepreneurs who are looking to hit that growth phase, looking to raise their Series A or whatever it might be. What are some of the learnings that you can share from, it's been like a lot of good startups. It's been a long road, but now you're getting a lot more attention, and it always seems like an overnight success sort of a thing.
Right.
Yeah. So what can you share for entrepreneurs who are looking to scale and raise that first serious round of institutional capital?
Yeah. So, a couple of things that I've thought about it through this process. The first thing is, and everybody says this, but it's true. You just got to get out there. Don't be afraid to have a conversation. So, so right now, even as we raised our Series A round, like you said, you seem like an overnight success. Really, to us, it just got a lot harder, right? Because now the expectations were raised, everything, the bar just got raised, but everybody's calling you, congratulations. Oh, can we talk? And so the opportunity there, pretty much whatever opportunities you have to have conversations, my advice is have those conversations, but don't have expectations. I think part of it for us too is letting people buy. So from my background in sales, people buy from people they like, right? You got to have a good product. Your price has to be right, but people partner with and buy from people they like. So, you might not be able to be likable, but if you can, be likable. How you treat people, how you interact with people, I think is really critical to kind of building that rapport and building that relationship. The road with cultivation was a process. They liked us early on, but, for various reasons, it wasn't the right time. And honestly, had they invested in us at the time when we first met with them, they would have invested in a different business than we are today. And, so I think a lot of times you look at failures or you look at the disappointments and you say, well, that's it, or that really, hampered us or is going to hinder us. And honestly, for us, as I look back, those are things that have actually helped us hone and focus our business model and what we're trying to do. But so, I think stay at it, have conversations, be likable. Don't worry about the failures, because if you've got a good team, if you've got a good product, you'll get there. But sometimes most of the time, I guess I should say with my experience, it takes longer than you always think it's going to.
Yeah.
And I think especially in St. Louis and raising money in the Midwest, valuations are smaller, check sizes tend to be smaller, but the people you're dealing with are often, similar to you. And so and I think too in the Midwest, people wanted, maybe more so than the coast, want to do business again with people they like and people they know and people they feel like they can trust. And I think that's a big part of especially if you're in your seed or Series A, if you're even pre-product. Or now we were not pre-product, or we were just in a pretty small, a pretty tight vertical, executing on something that we have to execute on really well. And there's a lot of variables in what we're doing, but if you've got a good product, if you've got a good team, just stay at it. I think persistence is key.
So when you're pitching, I guess to start that and close that round, was I guess the approaches you were taking remind me too, was it all Midwest money that you were able to pull from, or was there some coastal money too?
Nope, all Midwest.
No. Yep. Okay. Gotcha. And so my question, which I guess doesn't really work, I was curious, how the dynamics were between the two different ones, but I guess you were fortunate to be able to pull from the same region.
I had conversations with some coastal, and most of those were earlier on. When we got to this point, we actually had, the other thing I think too is don't be afraid to say no if something's not a fit. We ended up having more folks at the table than we were willing to take money in for. We could have taken in more money, but it didn't fit our model at this point. And if somebody's not a fit either with their money or with their, with whatever it is, don't be afraid to say no. And because when we said this is important to us, we're going to stick to this. People respect that, and either they'll come alongside, or they'll move on, and then they obviously weren't a fit for you too. So we had some great successes with sticking with what we felt was right and what we felt was a good fit for the company, and what was and that allowed us to, I think, get the right people on the board and get the right people on our right investors on board in the right seats that we otherwise might not have been able to do.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
So, yeah. So changing gears a little bit, it's been exciting the last few weeks to see St. Louis companies and TechCrunch and some big raises that we just saw. I think it was just today I read about Gainsight, which just sold for 1.1 billion, and that was started here, I think, by Jim Eberlin or yeah,
Mhm.
St. Louis company. And so it's exciting to see. That's something we've been hearing a lot about. Like, well, St. Louis just needs to have some more exits, and we're starting to see some like serious cash being raised. A couple exits now that aren't even just pure bio. I think that's generally what you're seeing is this big news is usually in the ag space, bio space. What's your general sense for the St. Louis community? Like, what does this mean, for St. Louis now that we're starting to see more of these Series A deals happening pulled from around the area?
Well, I think from my experience and some of the things I've read, and I'm not going to get this exactly right, but St. Louis ranks up there, towards the top with money being, VC money being invested into startups. If we're not there, I mean, like we're behind Chicago or something. We're close, right, in the Midwest. So we've got the capital here. Cultivation obviously plays a big role in that. And so this was really a big win. I think this was really, it might have been, I may be wrong on this, but I think this might have been Cultivation's first big investment, if not their first investment out of Tech Fund One. And so it's great to see a big win come through there for that fund, for St. Louis. But now, yeah, like you mentioned, Balto, also in our similar space, in the contact center customer experience space, just raised a nice round, kind of a Series A round. I thought our Series A was great. And then I saw Mark and his team go raise a much larger Series A, but those guys have a great product over there and they're doing some great stuff. So I think in Tech Funds 2 and 3 in cultivation and just, some of the other funds here in St. Louis, I think there's a good crop of companies right now that probably have another couple of years, but I think you're going to start to see, because there's some great companies right now that are operating with, incredible year-over-year growth and really doing some really great things right here in St. Louis. And I think in the next couple of years, you're going to start to see some bigger things pop.
So you think we're finally hitting our stride? Is that what you think maybe is happening now?
Yes, to summarize it, I think I would say that. I think St. Louis, it's taken a couple of years. We weren't like a tech startup, 10 years, we weren't, and we're not the next Silicon Valley. I wouldn't stretch to say that, but I think we're hitting our stride, for the size of a city we are, with the money and with the opportunity we have here. We're attracting people here. Obviously, the cost of starting a business is very competitive and very reasonable here in St. Louis versus somewhere on the coast. So I think you're going to see, of course, Square has offices here and, that type of thing. I think you're going to see more of that.
So before we turn the live stream off and go to some Q&A with some folks in the chat here, any kind of last parting words of wisdom that you can share with entrepreneurs, whether it's on scaling or raising or even just the process of just sticking with it? Any final thoughts there?
Yeah, so I think I recently read an article and I thought it was pretty right on. One of the keys to success, really, if you look at and it was a Harvard study that was done, but the keys to success were really persistence and diligence and kind of your stick-to-itiveness and hard work. And if those are the focuses that you have, that's really what's going to carry you. And I would say that's been our experience here. Our founding team and our team, we've been through some, tight times, some struggles, but everybody's worked hard. We've been diligent and persistent, and really, we're starting to see some of the results. And we're a far cry from where we want to be as a company, but we're on the right direction. But that would be my encouragement: is find out what make sure that what you have is something that's making an impact, is making a difference, and then work hard at it, stick to it, be diligent.
Well, I can't help but ask one last follow-up question to that. So when you or your team had hit those kind of hard moments, how did you guys forge forward? What is there anything that kind of stuck out to mind during those moments?
I think a big part of it is having vision. I think it's important to have a vision for where you're going. If you don't know that you can get somewhere in the future, you're going to have a hard time getting there. And that is, one of the things that we try to do here, and is as a desire of mine, is to hire people that are smarter than us. And that's my goal this year in 2021. We've done that really well here at the end of the year. We've hired some great people, but it's to continue to hire people that are smarter than us. But then my goal, my desire, is to kind of keep that vision out there and keep the idea that we are moving forward. We can move forward. Here's where we're headed. Because if you lose that, you kind of lose the motivation. You can work hard at something, but if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have that vision, you're going to get worn out. And so that I feel is my responsibility as the CEO, is to kind of keep that vision, keep pushing, keep getting, letting people be focused on the future. And that's really probably how we got through those times. Also, I think faith is a big part. A lot of people, when things are difficult, they turn to what's important to them. And certainly our entire founding team actually, has faith in God. And I think that's been a big part of, when things are tough, you turn to the things that deliver for you. And so, but just stay true to who you are and keep focused on the vision.
That's awesome. Well, all right. So if there's anyone, if there's people looking to work for your team, where do they go?
Great. So if they're looking, go ahead and just email me. It's probably the simplest thing. There's probably a place they should go, but I don't have that off the top of my head. So just email me at james@textel.net and I'll get you pointed in the right direction. We're looking for engineers. We're looking for channel managers and sales are probably the two biggest areas we're hiring in right now. So if that's somebody, if that's you, then we'd love to talk to you.
All right. Awesome, James. Well, thanks so much. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn the live stream off and we'll do some Q&A here. So for everyone joining in on the live stream, thanks so much. Tune in next week for another Venture Cafe Live. Go to the website, venturecafestl.org to keep up on what's going on. So, all right. Adios, everyone.